Well, welcome to the new content for the Botanical Medicine Study course with me, your host and instructor, Stephanie Georgiev. The channel has been in existence for about 2 years now, and I am going to take a little bit of a new course for the channel. So we're not going to be getting Herb of the Week every week on the YouTube channel, but if you would like to continue to enjoy Herb of the Week, this popular series will now be exclusively on Patreon. And any level of support you want to contribute, you will receive a weekly Herb of the Week new video, never before released to the public. And it's certainly not going to be released to the public now. It's only on Patreon. And you'll also get a little very short blurb on this week in botanical medicine. So I'll be looking at all sorts of things, new supplements, business trends, recent studies, things like that. And so for those of you who are interested in all things botanical medicine and you don't have a lot of time to read all the journal articles, etc., for less than one latte or wonderful blended hot beverage, uh, you know, just one, you'll get 4 weeks of incredible information. So definitely go to the link in the program notes and on how you can continue to receive. It's interesting this week, the week of May 19th, 2025, we're going to be looking at the herb stevia. And it sort of has a little bit to do with what we're going to talk about in this segment of the Botanical Medicine Study course. Now, if you watch any sort of television, for me, it's almost amusing how, especially with news programs, where you just hear nothing but horrible updates on the news. But all of the advertisers are either some sort of food, fast food, restaurant, snack food, whatever. And then there's all kinds of drugs for weight loss. So it's just kind of interesting. They're promoting you eating things that make you overweight, and then they have drugs that will help you cope with that. Now, since obesity is quite a big, pun intended, problem in terms of global health, the search for cure-alls has been quite the focus of the health industry, both, governments, supplement companies, medical technology, pharmaceuticals, you name it. And it's really been the focus of the health industry for a while, mainly because it's quite a lucrative market. Now, the reason for obesity is multifold. I could talk for hours on why I think obesity is a problem. But for me, the short version is obesity is a natural outcome of an industrially based food system. So most of your foods are industrially produced and farmed, and also a technological culture, which means we're not outside doing things like we used to. We're sitting in front of screens, and obviously you're sitting in front of a screen right now, but especially our children. We're sitting around all day instead of outside walking and working. There's even a syndrome these days called nature deficit disorder, meaning we just do not get enough exposure to nature. So hopefully you can get those steps in the outside, in a park or something. But back to our theme here, the global weight loss supplement market size was estimated to be 33.14 billion United States dollars in 2024. And this is expected to grow larger, pun intended, about 14 or 15% between 2025 and 2030. Now, there are all kinds of really interesting weight loss drugs on the market. the the generic name for them is GLP-1 agonists, and we're very familiar. The ads for me for these are really fun. They show chubby people walking all over the place. It's very inspiring. But anyways, these drugs have taken the healthcare industry by storm. And you can see, which I think is kind of interesting, how the weight loss drug US market size is increasing like our girth. But they've really taken on an unprecedented interest within the public. And there's all kinds of really interesting, and I suggest if you want to know these things, you can go to a wonderful website called trackdrugs.com. And they have all kinds of interesting charts, but it's basically how many of these GLP-1 agonist TikTok videos people are watching, and articles people are looking up. And there's just a very, very big interest in these drugs. And mainly because they're quite effective. And it's because there's a glucagon-like peptide, that's the GLP, receptors, and this interacts specifically with the GLP hormone, and this plays a crucial role in the regulation of blood glucose lipid levels, and that's basically your blood sugar levels. And when your blood sugar levels tend to go down, you start producing fat and glycogen and all kinds of things. And basically, what these drugs do is they alter how you are perceiving what your body's doing with what you're eating. So you're just not hungry anymore. And if you listen to the very fast, blah, 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 the side effects, they speed through them on hyperdrive. But one of the side effects of these drugs is nausea, great nausea. There's some other not so great ones, but this one is definitely a big one. And obviously, when you're nauseated, you don't eat. Now, the market for these GLP drugs is projected to exceed 200 billion in annual sales by 2031. And there's all kinds of interesting research companies out there. And it seems that these drugs are so popular that organizations promoting the old-fashioned way of losing weight, you go to some inspiration meetings, you get weighed, you get, your little nutrition program, you check in, you go with your friends, on and on. So I've done that. My mom did that. These organizations are going out of business. They're going bankrupt. Mainly because in one case, the celebrity promoting the business had to stop her endorsement because she was on one of these drugs. So it's basically, these drugs are kind of overtaking currently what uh, is traditional approaches to weight loss. Now, what does this have to do with botanical medicine? Is there a natural GLP-1 agonist? Is there? Well, if you believe some of the stuff you see on certain social media platforms, there might be. Now, one of the supplements that's being touted as a natural GLP-1 alternative, it's called berberine. And when you start reading the industry literature, it's very interesting. They're doing all these marketing ideas on how to, do companion supplements with your client, your customers that are on all these different drugs. And one of them is called berberine. And berberine, I personally would call the wonder substance of plants. And it's naturally found in plants such as golden seal. Another one is Oregon grape. Another one is called barberry and tree turmeric. So there's quite a few herbs, and it's a bitter, bright yellow compound that you can get from many, many plants. But it's mostly, most of us are familiar with golden seal. It's in a lot of traditional Chinese medicine herbs as well as Ayurvedic. And what these herbs that have a large concentration of this berberine in it, they're mainly used to get rid of things like intestinal microbes. It's a very powerful antimicrobial. That's why golden seal is used for infections and colds and things like that. Also for stopping diarrhea because it's very astringent. That's the property that makes that. And what what a lot of nations and pharmaceutical and supplement people are doing is mixing berberine with traditional pharmaceuticals or touting it for all kinds of things. But one of the big things that these supplement people and these herb supplement people are doing is saying that it's mimicking the GLP-1 hormone, and it reduces appetite and slows digestion. And what I want to say about everything that I've ever heard in terms of weight loss, modern weight loss, and it's usually what happens is, people, whatever these drugs are, these surgeries, etc., all they do is make you eat less. So it follows that if you simply eat less, you will lose weight. But, let's, take something or get half of our intestines taken out instead. Now, berberine has been used, the plants that contain berberine, they've been traditionally used for things like inflammatory disorders, skin diseases, wound healing, reducing fevers, treatment of tumors, bladder infections, infections in general. And there's all kinds of ways to get that. As you can see, it's a bright yellow compound. And it's just really amazing. But in terms of the weight loss, what it's doing is it's activating a certain pathway, which is involved in how the cells uptake things like sugar, and it moderates how the cells are utilizing nutrition, basically. It's called the AMPK pathway. And it stimulates, berberine stimulates a number of enzymes involved in energy use. And so there are similar ways that berberine works like these GLP-1 agonist drugs. And what they do, these berberine containing plants, is they reduce appetite and they slow digestion. And there was one review of this effect, and was actually 12 different studies found that supplementing with berberine led to significant reductions in body weight and things like belly fat. And it also decreased the levels of what's called C-reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation. Now, there's all these wonderful actions of berberine in terms of weight loss, but this is not exactly what the plants or these substances really are supposed to be used for. Now, some of you may be old enough to remember the whole craze with ephedra and weight loss. And, they had ATF agents, storming health food stores, at gunpoint, getting rid of ephedra off the shelves. And now it's very difficult to get it. And, ephedra isn't a weight loss drug. It's used for other things, and it's been used for thousands of years in traditional Chinese medicine for all sorts of things that have nothing to do with weight loss. So I'm a big fan of using plants in their whole entire form and not just taking substances out of them. because sometimes when you isolate substances, there aren't other substances that tend to monitor and keep them in balance. Some of them. So it's not exactly the right approach to these gifts from nature. But what seems to happen in all the cases with the supplements and diets and even drugs when it comes to weight loss, and this is just me being in clinical practice for 30 some odd years, you watch these things go through cycles. There's some sort of supplement or food or uh, pharmaceutical or surgery technique, and in the beginning it's the cure all, it's the miracle, blah blah blah, and then after enough people do this for enough amount of time, then these news stories come out with somebody having some sort of problem and people dying, or the after effects or coming off of the drug or the surgeries or whatever. And it's not always a fun story. So I just think there's other, I'm with you. I wish there was a pill that we could take that just would melt the fat away without, even liposuction. People getting liposuction, you're at risk for, clots in your brain and your lung and your heart. I was in my acupuncture training, beautiful young woman in the stroke ward up in San Francisco had liposuction and she had a stroke and was paralyzed after liposuction. These are the things that you find out. Was that worth it? Could you handle your cellulite? Now you don't have cellulite, but you're paralyzed. So, it's a big deal. And I wish there was a pill that would just melt the fat away and we could continue eating anything we wanted at as much as we wanted without exercising, and we would be thin. And of course, there's always those people, and they're very annoying, but they're very blessed. And I was thinking of that wonderful movie. It's a, I don't know, it's probably 30, 40 years old now. It's called Defending Your Life. And it's all about this transit place you go to before entering heaven. And it was like a spa like setting where people could eat whatever they want as much as they wanted and not gain weight. But then again, the movie was all about people who were dead. But who cares if you're able to eat whatever you want and not gain weight? Now, berberine, it can be a helpful addition to a comprehensive health regimen. If the substance doesn't aggravate you, it might upset your stomach. It might cause nausea. Some people get diarrhea from this. It's, it, but it has to be part of a comprehensive health regime. Whenever you read the studies about weight loss, they'll basically do this wonder weird concoction of, apple cider vinegar, honey, and whatever. And then they'll do a study on it, and the people are losing like 1 pound a month. And to me, that's what, you could do that by cutting out sodas or whatever. So it has to be part of a comprehensive health regimen. You need to exercise, you need to eat good food, good, healthy, simple food. And the best way to lose weight, which is what I have done, is it's slow. It takes a while, but you need to eat a diet rich in leafy green vegetables, good low fat sources of protein, small amounts of whole grains, not bread. We're talking whole grains, and good sources of fat such as avocados, olives, olive oil, avocado oil. And make sure to eat fermented foods regularly, such as sauerkraut or kombucha, miso. And if you do dairy, do fermented dairy, such as yogurt and kefir, and just plain. Add the fruit yourself. Stay away from the artificial sweeteners. They actually make you gain weight. But if eat these natural, healthy foods, simple foods, your taste buds get adjusted and you're more satisfied. All those industrially produced foods are designed to make you eat more of them, and that's why you gain weight. So, and the other thing is to get low intensity exercise, such as walking, swimming, biking. I'm a big fan of hiking in the forest. If you can possibly do that, and do some sort of intermittent circuit training. This means don't do the same exercises every day. Do leg lifts one day and do, side stomach crunches or however you want to do that. And I am a huge fan of the chair yoga stuff. It's incredible the results you can get with this. So there's really no magic supplement here. There really, really isn't. Even natural ones. It's really, really up to just eating less, moving more, eating good quality food, and creating a nice relationship with your own body and the environment. So this is Stephanie Georgia saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. I have some interesting links for articles that you might want to read. And also, if you would like to get a weekly Herb of the Week video exclusive to Patreon supporters, plus your weekly botanical medicine update for $5 a month, and that's basically $1.25 a week, you will help me immensely. And you will also learn some wonderful things on how to be more healthy. So, once again, this is Stephanie Georgiev, and until next time, be well.